Over the past several seasons, the NBA has seen Steph Curry and the Warriors make many deep playoff runs. We have seen many of his incredible shots, finals wins, and the greatest rivalry of our generation. But do we ever think of where all of this playoff success began? It all starts here in Denver, Colorado on April 20th, 2013. But let's take a look at these teams first. The Denver Nuggets were an offensively gifted team that was led by head coach George Karl. In his 9th season with the Nuggets, George Karl led his team to the highest points per game average in the NBA. And the scoring was led by Ty Lawson and Danilo Gallinari, who weren't even top 30 in points per game in the league this season. The Nuggets were able to achieve this scoring ability by sticking to George Karl's offensive fundamentals, shots at the rim and shot selection. The Nuggets led the league in percentage of field goal attempts from 0 to 3 feet, with 41.5%, the next closest being 37%. They also ranked first in all of these categories, proving that this team had a clear identity and were executing their game plan on a consistent basis. Some of this efficient field goal percentage at the rim was provided by the elite rebounding the team possessed. They were second in rebounds per game in the league, and were first in offensive rebounds per game. The offensive rebounding was led by Kenneth Faried and Kostas Koufos. They were key in setting up second-chance points at the rim, and their defense was nothing to mess with either. The Nuggets had the 11th best defensive rating in this season, and their opponent turnover percentage was 8th in the league. They were second in the league in steals and third in the league in blocks. Led by Kenneth Faried, Kostas Koufos, and JaVale McGee, they looked like a very complete team throughout the season. This Nuggets team did have a couple flaws though. They were 25th in the league in three-point percentage despite not taking many, and they were the third worst free throw shooting team in the league. They also had the 4th most turnovers in the league this season. All in all, this Nuggets team finished with the best record in franchise history with a 57-25 record and securing the 3 seed in the West. This was led by the head coach, George Karl, and was awarded the NBA Coach of the Year after the season ended. Even their GM Musai Ujiri won NBA Executive of the Year. There were still questions about George Karl's ability to take the Nuggets on a deep playoff run. Despite making it to the playoffs every year he was with the Nuggets, he was only able to make it out of the first round once in those 7 appearances. But with all that he accomplished with the 3rd youngest team in the league, he had a chance to prove he could take this team to the finals, and his first adversary was the Golden State Warriors. So let's dive into them a bit. The 2013 Golden State Warriors, led by Mark Jackson. While they had a lot of the same personnel from the teams we remember, they had some different pieces that contributed to this return to playoff form for the franchise. The most notable was David Lee, a man who was the only all-star on the team and led the league in double-doubles. He was dominant in the paint game, averaging 18.5 points and 11.2 rebounds a game. Curry burst onto the scene this season. Despite missing the All-Star roster, he averaged 22.9 points, 6.9 assists, and had the 3rd highest three-point percentage in the league. He also broke Ray Allen's single-season three-pointers made record this season, a record he would go on to beat many more times. He also had his running mate Klay Thompson, who averaged 16.9 points a game and shot 40.1% from 3 on 526 attempts. People were already wondering what this duo could be capable of, with the Warriors account calling them the Splash Brothers during a 2012 game. They also had dependable shooters in Harrison Barnes and Jarrett Jack, 2 other guys who were the reason the Warriors led the league in three-point percentage, being the only team to shoot over 40% from 3, and also were 7th in the league in points. One interesting thing was that both teams were top 4 in the league in pace, but both did it in different ways. The Nuggets did it through steals and creating fast break runs, while the Warriors did it by quickly getting into sets and shooting many threes. The Nuggets lead the regular season series 3-1, but with 3 of the games coming within the first month of the season, it was hard to see if this could be a gauge of what the series would look like. Unfortunately, the Denver Nuggets lost Danilo Gallinari due to a torn ACL before the season started, losing their 2nd leading scorer and a great floor spacer that was important to their success as a team. Kenneth Faried was dealing with his own injury at the time as well. He dressed for Game 1 and was potentially available, but George Karl hoped they didn't need him to squeak out the first game, so he sat this game out. And now it was time for the 2 teams to face off in Denver, a place where they last lost on January 18th, and only lost on their home floor 3 times all season. The game started with an even back and forth between the teams. But the main storyline of the first half was Steph Curry's shooting performance. Curry started the game shooting 0 for 9, and he didn't seem to be in any kind of rhythm. Miss after miss after miss after miss. Warriors fans might begin to worry if he would become dejected due to his poor performance. But the greats can find ways to affect the game when their shot isn't falling. And Curry did that by racking up 8 first-half assists and making an impact on the opposite side of the floor. JaVale McGee also had some incredible moments in the first half, showing his athleticism and potential dominance in the paint. The game went into halftime with a score of 48-44, and both teams were starting to realize that these playoffs were going to be different than the high-paced regular season games they played. And after a very nice NBA Cares commercial that warms the nation's hearts, we were right back in action as Curry picked up his game, making his next 5 shots. But the Nuggets ended the quarter on a 13-2 run. And to start the fourth quarter, David Lee took a hard fall that resulted in a tear of his right hip flexor. When he went down, you could see him say he heard something pop. Lee got up and attempted his free throws, but went out immediately after, and unfortunately was out the rest of the series. And just like that, the Warriors lost their all-star player that led the league in double-doubles that season. The big story of the game, though, was Andre Miller, a 37-year-old vet who's been in the league for 13 seasons. He absolutely took over with 20 points in the second half, 18 of them in the fourth quarter, and kept the Nuggets in the game with tough buckets and shot-making. And with 40 seconds left and a 1-point lead, Ty Lawson is able to steal the ball from Steph Curry and lay it up at the other end, giving them the 3-point lead. Down 3, Jack is able to drive and dish it out to Curry for the 3, tying the game and putting all the pressure on the Nuggets. And you can see this shot has Steph fired up. And now, with a tied game, and under 10 seconds, Andre Miller now has Draymond Green on him in isolation, a situation that during most of Draymond's career teams would try to avoid. But with this being a rookie Draymond that is only seeing these late-game minutes because of David Lee's injury, the Nuggets felt comfortable in this situation. Andre Miller was able to work around Draymond and finish with the crafty layup to go up 2. And with no timeouts left, the Warriors don't have a chance to win it, and the Nuggets take an exhausting Game 1. The crowd and team were ecstatic for Andre Miller, a guy who said he's never hit a game winner in his basketball career. He had an absolutely astounding fourth quarter that gave them the ability to go up 1 game, but the teams knew there was still a lot of work to be done to win the series. Steph Curry finished the game with 19 points and 9 assists, while Klay finished with 22 points. A decent performance for the Splash Bros' first playoff game. The 11 turnovers in the second half to Denver's 2 would be a big indicator of why they lost also. With a lot of things to improve upon and only losing by 2, the Warriors would have some hope they can still gather up and win the series. And now we head to Game 2, a game that started out pretty competitive. Klay Thompson had the first 7 points for the Warriors, Andre Iguodala had 12 for the Nuggets in the first quarter, and there was only a 2-point difference at the end of the first. But the second quarter is where Curry started to take over. Whether using screens to get open, being able to shoot off the dribble in isolation, or being able to stop on a dime in a fast break, Steph Curry had it all going for him in the second quarter, getting 15 points and securing an 8-point lead at the half. Ty Lawson also was playing very well, outscoring his Game 1 performance in the first half and keeping the Nuggets in it as long as possible. But with the third quarter coming, the Warriors sensed an opportunity to take it to the Nuggets, immediately shooting their 8-point lead to a 15-point lead with back-to-back buckets from Curry, Thompson, and Harrison Barnes. No matter how many times the Nuggets pulled the deficit to 8 or 10, the Warriors always had a response and couldn't seem to miss, scoring 96 points by the end of the third. This trend would continue as they got valuable minutes from rookie Harrison Barnes, who scored 17 second-half points. Klay finished with 21, Jack had 26, and Steph Curry became the first Warrior to have 30 points and 10 assists since 1987. The team broke a franchise playoff record in field goal percentage with 64.6% from the field. They also gave the Nuggets their first home loss since January 18th. This was the first playoff win for Steph Curry and was just the beginning of the many franchise and NBA playoff records they would break. After injuring his ankle late in Game 2, Steph Curry had to prove to the trainers and staff pregame that he could be a go for Game 3. As you can see, Curry had no problem getting around, and he was not going to miss the Warriors' first home playoff game since May 2007. And here is where we get a look at one of the most incredible fan base experiences in sports for years to come. With yellow enveloping the entire arena, it was so loud that the players were playing through the whistle because they couldn't hear it.
Numbers for Golden State. Jack gets the layup from Curry. Curry averaging 11 assists per game in the series. And we have a technical foul call.
Jarrett Jack started the game 5 for 5, with a couple of them coming from Steph Curry. Ty Lawson had his own answer to Jack, continuously driving to the rim with his blazing speed and creating layups or free throw opportunities. He finished the first quarter with 13 points. Steph Curry also scored 11 points in the first quarter along with 4 assists. Once again, the first quarter was competitive and ended in a tie, but this time around the Nuggets were the one trying to extend the lead in the second. Corey Brewer scored 12 coming off the bench, and Ty Lawson was dishing the ball as well, creating a 12-point lead at halftime for the Nuggets. But in the third quarter, the Warriors came out with a balanced offensive attack that caused them to take a 3-point lead by the time the fourth quarter came, with Jarrett Jack leading the way. Ty Lawson had another impressive quarter, scoring 9 of the team's 18 points, but couldn't get the help necessary to contain their lead. The fourth quarter is where things get interesting. We got to see more of the playoff basketball as no one scored more than 7. Both teams shot 42.9% from the field, and the Nuggets had 7 turnovers, while the Warriors had 6. It was looking like it was going to come down to the final minute. The Warriors had a 6-point lead with a minute 54 left, but Ty Lawson was able to make an and one to close the lead to 3. After a couple of missed shots from Curry, the Nuggets had the ball down 4 looking to make a play, and Wilson Chandler, who wasn't known for his shooting, drains a 3 to bring the game within 1. George Karl and the Nuggets decide to try and tie up Jarrett Jack, but the Warriors were able to call timeout to Karl's great dismay. However, the Warriors commit a 5-second violation on the inbound, and the Nuggets have the chance to win the game down 1. Ty Lawson takes the ball, and as he drives, Festus Ezeli does a fantastic job moving his feet and causes Ty Lawson to turn it over. The crowd is absolutely ecstatic, and the Nuggets walk away deflated. Harrison Barnes makes a free throw, and with 3.7 seconds left, Andre Iguodala gets a decent look at a game-winning 3. But it just hits the rim, and the Warriors take a 2-1 series lead. And despite the fantastic 35 points and 10 assists game from Ty Lawson, Steph Curry's 29 and 11 proves to be too much, and Warriors have a chance to go up 3-1 on their home floor on Sunday. As you can see, the fans were incredibly excited to see the Warriors play again in Oracle Arena, and the thought of something special happening here was looming. After the first quarter, which saw the Warriors take an early 4-point lead, the Warriors were able to extend their lead by 12 the end of the first half, with their 2 best shooters only having a combined 14 points. But the real treat for the fans would come in the third quarter. Ty Lawson would score 15 points in the first 6 minutes of the quarter, showcasing his improved jump shot, ability to make his own space and speed, and was able to cut the lead to 4 at one point. Unfortunately for the Nuggets, Steph Curry would have one of the most memorable runs in the modern era. I'll let Steph Curry describe the iconic look-away shot.
I want to say it was either Game 3 or Game 4 of our first playoff series against Denver in 2013. And it was third quarter happened, and we go on this crazy run. I had, knocking shots down left and right. And the last kind of one in the third quarter, right in front of Denver's bench, JaVale McGee's standing, like literally standing up. There's about 5 or 6 guys around him, and get the ball in the corner. And obviously you've been in that situation where you rise up and everybody just talking, trash behind you. And for some reason I just got out of body experience. I shot it. literally as I let go, I was like, I never felt the shot feel better than that. And I turned around and kind of looked at JaVale and then just ran off and it went in. And that was when I didn't even check to see if it went in. I just was waiting for the noise, and it was kind of a really special moment. Just, I don't know, the irrational confidence to even try that in a playoff game, but it was dope.
It was actually the first made shot of his electric 22-point quarter. But it's okay, Curry. I know you can't remember all your threes. With every made shot, you could feel the crowd growing more and more appreciative of Steph, knowing he could be the guy to bring them back to the finals. Steph could not miss, and the crowd was feeding off his energy as he shot the lead to 19 to end the quarter. Unfortunately, Steph got poked in the eye in the fourth quarter, but that was all right as the Warriors held on the lead, never letting the Nuggets get within single digits again. George Karl and the Nuggets were at a loss for words, as they were going to have to figure out how to pull off a 3-1 comeback in order to avoid a first-round departure from the playoffs. Everything seemed well for the Warriors, as Steph had 31 points and finished with 6 threes, but Steph's ankle was still severely hurting him, and now his eye. They just hoped he would be able to play Game 5. In the first half of Game 5, the Nuggets got back to what they did best, passing the ball and finding shots at the rim. They out-rebounded the Warriors by 12, and Denver finished with 17 assists in the first half, results that occurred by trying to follow Karl's game plan more. And as you can see, the crowd was back into the series. Wilson Chandler hitting 4 threes and having 16 points is a big reason they were up 20 at the half. Warriors quickly got the lead back down to 9, but missed shots from their shooters gave the Nuggets an opportunity to bring their lead back up. But in the fourth quarter, the Warriors started making some of the shots they were missing in the third, and they were able to cut the lead to 5. Now with their backs against the wall to perform, the Nuggets had an answer and were able to create great offense at the end, with 3 alley-oops in the final 5 minutes. Now that the Nuggets were able to take one at home in front of their fans, they had to focus on how they were going to bring the series back after a game in Oakland. This game didn't come without its controversy, though, as Mark Jackson hinted that he had an inside source that the Nuggets were playing dirty on purpose. George Karl called Andre Iguodala a mole several months later after he joined Golden State, and even made a tweet about it in 2024. Andre addressed the allegations in a podcast with Shannon Sharpe recently.
We had an interesting scout report, with Steph and Clay. We just gonna rough them up a little bit,
right?
You know what I'm saying? And it was getting a little borderline, and
getting borderline dirty.
Yeah. So I was never a fan of, I can't stop you, so I'm gonna try to rough you up a little bit.
Right.
I'm, man, the best man win.
Right.
I feel like I'm the better player, and if you get me today, you got me.
Right.
And I remember Mark Jackson.
Right.
I'm in front of their bench, and he was like, "Yo, why y'all trying to hurt my players? Why y'all trying to hurt my players?" And I'm like, "Coach, I don't move like that. So I don't move like that." That was it.
That was all you said.
That was it. I don't play like that, Coach. And I think after the game, Mark and I joked with Mark. I said, "Mark, you threw me under the table." He's like, "How I throw you under the table?" I said, after the game, Mark said, "I'm pretty sure that I got confirmation from one of their players that the scout report was to hurt my guys."
Right.
So that was the sentiments coming out of that. And George didn't have an adjustment for them boys and them boys beat us.
Right.
And typical George gonna run with a narrative that he gonna run away from what it was.
Right.
You just got out coached.
Right. You didn't make any adjustments.
So let me look for something else. And he's done it throughout his career.
Game 6 started a little bit cleaner than the last, but the shooting wasn't ideal by either team to start. David Lee made a small appearance in the first half, miraculously stepping on the court after injuring his hip flexor in Game 1 and being expected to be out the entire series. Other than that, the first half was uneventful, with Ty Lawson scoring 12 for the Nuggets, Bogut starting 4 for 5, and Steph and Klay started the game 2 for 13 from the field. After starting the third quarter down 42-40, Steph got to work and shot 4 for 5 from 3 in the third quarter, finishing with a 14-point period and elating the Golden State crowd once again. Now entering the fourth with an 11-point lead and a chance to win their first playoff series in 6 years, the Warriors had to capitalize on this opportunity. The Warriors came out steaming in the fourth, shooting the lead to 18, and giving the crowd hope they would shut this out. But the Nuggets would make a miraculous comeback, securing some tough buckets and hustle to dice the lead to 4. They were hoping to stave off elimination and get to one more game. But the Warriors had an unlikely hero in their back pocket, as Draymond Green would score 6 in just over a minute to keep a lead. Now the Nuggets had to respond, and Andre Iguodala did by hitting 2 threes and got the game to 3. Kenneth Faried had 2 free throws with 30 seconds left and made one of the 2 to get the game a little closer. Klay Thompson then had a bad inbound pass, causing the Nuggets to have an opportunity to tie or win it with 22 seconds left. But unfortunately, Wilson Chandler missed 2 shots near the rim, making Corey Brewer go out of bounds on a rebound. This forced the Nuggets to foul Jarrett Jack, who made both free throws to get the lead to 4, not letting the Nuggets have a chance to win it, as the Warriors win their first playoff series since 2007, and the Nuggets and George Karl are tied to another first-round exit. This series had massive ramifications for both teams. The Warriors head to the second round, and even though they lose to the Spurs, they gain valuable playoff experience early in their dominant run. On the Nuggets side, Masai Ujiri would make a lateral move to the Toronto Raptors, and George Karl was fired from the Nuggets after not being able to agree on an extension. And 2 months after the series, Andre Iguodala would sign a contract with the Warriors, leaving the Nuggets after 1 season. Steph Curry led the series with 24.3 points per game, while shooting 44.2% from 3, and going 100% from the free throw line. Jarrett Jack was the second option for the Warriors, having 18.8 points and 7 assists, while shooting 52.6% from the field. And 3 other Warriors had double-digit averages in points this series. Ty Lawson deserves a ton of credit for this series, scoring 21.3 points per game and dishing 8 assists a game. He showed his electric style of play many times in this series. Andre Iguodala also had a solid series, scoring 18 points a game and leading the team in threes and steals. While this was a disappointing series for Nuggets fans, there was a guy on the Warriors staff who might help you win a title in the future.